Welcome, everyone, to Armbar, the Valley's only home for pro wrestling and MMA radio talk. We are in full force tonight in this kingdom for Armbar. I'm myself, the rock star, Jay Ochoa. Of course, we are joined by the very infamous Devlin Frost, as well as also the somewhat famous 7-star Jaime Esteban. Nah, I'm just kidding. Good to have you here, Jaime, in all seriousness. And, of course, the one and only Mike the Biz. Well, it's our first podcast of 2021, and you can't think of a better subject to talk about first than perhaps wrestling's biggest event of the calendar year, Wrestle Kingdom. Jaime, Don, I'm trusting, well, as far as myself, I got to see the first night live, but the second night I had to wait until after I got home from work, but kept off the internet the entire time. All I can say is amazing was this show from top to bottom. Even the New Japan Rambo, I thought was awesome, but still Wrestle Kingdom, it was just the best way to kick off what's been, 2020, we're still trying to put in our rearview mirrors, but 2021 has already given us some hope with such a great wrestling event like Wrestle Kingdom. Two great main events back to back, but also the undercard that delivered, and in many ways also giving us a glimpse of what to expect in New Japan Pro Wrestling going forward, of course. As far as the New Japan Rambo to crown the next KOPW champion of 2021, all I can say is, Jaime, you've told me for a while that Toru Yano is the GOAT. Can you please explain why he was just that in the opening match of Wrestle Kingdom Night 1?
Because, Jay, so for the match that Jay was talking about, the 21-man New Japan Rambo, basically it was supposed to go down to the last four to determine who would compete the next night for the provisional King of Pro Wrestling 2021 trophy. So it was down to Chase Owens, Bad Luck Fale, and Bushi in the ring. But Yano decided to last minute show up and just waltz his way into the ring and declare himself, a winner also. So those four men were pretty much eligible to challenge for the trophy the following night. It was genius. Honestly, you talk about ultimate opportunists, CM Punk, Edge, you just wait there for your opportunity. Add Toru Yano to that list because he just waited and waited and waited, and he just got his chance right there.
Basically, he competed in a match without even competing, is what you're saying, basically.
Basically, yeah. It's like the four of us, okay, scratch that. It's like the three of you guys inside the ring, and I just happen to just randomly show up, and I'm just inserted into the match.
So it sounds like you.
Definitely.
There you go. You see, there you go. So basically, that's how it went down, and it was amazing. It was great, and the match the following night was great as well. But we'll go more into that later. This match that kicked off the show, it was to determine the official number one contender for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. It was the best of the Super Juniors winner, Hiromu Takahashi, taking on the Super J Cup winner, El Phantasmo. Jay, your thoughts on that match?
Oh, man, I remember since I was watching early in the morning and you were also texting me, you were praising the villainous work of Phantasmo, especially how he treated the golden jacket of the Super J Cup.
He wanted to return that jacket to Liger. He was looking for Liger in the arena. Where was Liger? Come on.
Yeah, but there's ways to return objects, as they were. I'm sure he wasn't expecting a bunch of footprints and tears and amongst other things to be on the golden jacket, but we digress. Nonetheless, though, the match itself, Phantasmo and Hiromu Takahashi gave us a good thriller for the opening night of the main card of Wrestle Kingdom. I mean, including also for the fact that there were a couple times where Takahashi's hand was worked on by the, I guess, the more hardened boots or hardened feet of Phantasmo, who has claimed that since he's been down since the pandemic, that he's been practicing his super kicks on wooden trees, trying to perhaps perfect the hardest super kick that you can imagine. But ultimately, that did not matter, as Hiromu Takahashi would defeat El Phantasmo to gain the opportunity at night 2 of the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. I mean, Phantasmo brought his A game, but even with all the chicanery, he still was not able to defuse the time bomb at night 1 of Wrestle Kingdom. I mean, Adon, I know that you, I'm not sure if you had seen the show in its entirety or just read the results, but what was your thoughts, I guess, just reading up or catching glimpses of the matches overall?
I mean, honestly, I didn't order it only because of the fact the kids had school, and I didn't really have time to watch it. But the way I kept up with it was the good gentlemen at Dirt Sheet Radio were nice enough to post and share the results. I've been a follower of Jonathan Escuerdo for quite a long time now, and I highly respect that guy's take, his views on professional wrestling. It's very similar to mine and the rest of the heel section. So he was nice enough to post everything up. I didn't see anything about the Rambo, but I did see about Hiromu Takahashi. So and the lead up to everything else that happened on night 2. So I read that to keep up, but I didn't get a chance to watch it. However, from the past 2 Wrestle Kingdoms that I've watched, never been disappointed. They've always put on a great show. And then especially with the stories building up for Kota Ibushi, like that stuff right there was great too. But we'll get to that in a bit.
And then, of course, also the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. Excuse me here, but I'm still on camera. But with the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles, the battle of 2 very villainous tag teams with Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr., also known as Dangerous Tekkers, taking on the Gorillas of Destiny, who were this past year's World Tag League winners. And ultimately what it came down to was who was going to out-villain the other. And ultimately it took Tama Tonga taking the beloved Iron Fingers that once belonged to Takeshi Iizuka from Suzuki-gun and use it on the man that inherited that foreign object, Taichi, to get the win and their 7th IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championship. Jaime, your thoughts on this battle for the titles that took place at Wrestle Kingdom Night 1?
It was a great tag match. Honestly, I had fun watching it. And the Gorillas of Destiny, I mean, they are the ones with the most reigns, 7.
Yeah.
As you mentioned earlier, that basically is untouchable right there. So I'm glad to see that the tag titles are back with the Bullet Club overall. So I'm ready to see when and where and how the Gorillas of Destiny defend their newly won tag titles and how they can stay on top of the tag team mountain in New Japan.
And since then, the Iron Glove has also gone missing, but yet Tama Tonga had posted on Instagram that he had a very good night's sleep and a good breakfast with the Iron Glove that once belonged to Taichi, who inherited that from Takeshi when he retired from New Japan just a couple of years back. But I get a feeling that eventually it might show up again. As far as when, it might be when the rematch occurs between Dangerous Tekkers and the Gorillas of Destiny. Also, of course, as part of night 1 of Wrestle Kingdom, just trying to go through my notes, we had those 2 battles that we just mentioned, the 2 championship matches. But also, of course, I kind of felt was a real feel-good story. In case I missed any matches, we'll get back to it. It was the ace Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on the Great Okan, one of the first recruits of the now United Empire, as Will Ospreay calls it. Your thoughts on Tanahashi, who did not have a very banner year in 2020, but was able to overcome the Great Okan at night 1 of Wrestle Kingdom and be back on the W column at the biggest stage of them all at the Tokyo Dome for the first time since 2019.
I mean, honestly, like you said, he didn't have a great year last year, and as you said in the beginning, let's put 2020 in our rear view mirrors. 2021, start off with the win, start off great, So I mean, right now he as you mentioned, he did defeat Great Okan, and it's actually great that he defeated a member of the Empire.
Yeah.
So now we'll see.
That's one faction I'll never get behind is the Empire.
So we'll see, more or less where he moves on, or where he goes from there after that great win. Who knows?
And now that I think about it, the match that I had missed getting into that match was another critical battle: the right to challenge IWGP US Championship match. Satoshi Kojima taking on Kenta. Of course, Kojima, who was filling in for the injured Juice Robinson, who was now taking on Kenta. But we also heard word that the current IWGP US Champion Jon Moxley, in a pre-taped segment, standing in the middle of an NJPW Strong ring at the LA Dojo in Los Angeles, has said that everyone was hoping that that Moxley wouldn't return to New Japan. He will be back. He will face Kenta as far as when and where, and whether it happens stateside or Moxley has to travel to Japan, we don't know. But ultimately, I'm sure a lot of people because of Kojima not being in the main event scene for a very long time. This is a guy who main evented the third Wrestle Kingdom in 2011. No, I'm sorry, the fourth Wrestle Kingdom in 2011 against Tanahashi, but also main evented the very first one in 2007 with him in Tenzan against Muto and Masachono, that a lot of people didn't really give Kojima an opportunity or a chance to really beat Kenta, but he definitely showed he still had it, but it was not enough to beat Kenta. You guys' take on this matchup and the ramifications to come with the upcoming Moxley-Kenta match when it happens.
I mean, Kojima, he put up a good fight. He after the match on Twitter, he put in that he respected Kenta, and that's the only thing you can do, respect Kenta, because now he's very dangerous and he wants championship gold, and he's after Moxley. So, like you said, whether or not it's going to be in Japan, whether or not it's going to be here in the US, only time will tell because of the ongoing pandemic. They'll decide how it's going to happen. It should be a great match. I know that pretty much all of us wanted to see this match, Kenta versus Jon Moxley, and it's going to be a heavy hitting match. Given that Moxley, he has fought in a Texas Death match against Lance Archer for the title last year. I believe it was in Wrestle Kingdom last year as well.
Night one Wrestle Kingdom last year, yeah.
Right. So I mean, it's going to be a very great match between the two.
And of course, you're done. Adon, your thoughts on Kenta versus Kojima, and now the aftermath, where it's basically bound to happen, is Moxley and Kenta.
Well, we got to look at Kenta's story first and foremost. I mean, Kenta went to WWE, this thing there for a while, and honestly, they didn't use him.
No.
They didn't use him. They didn't make any headway with him. Like, misused. And
I mean,
now that he's back where he can shine, I mean, that's all he's been doing. So, him winning the opportunity to face Moxley, I relish in that, because that's two completely different styles, and it would be fun to see how Moxley approaches going up against Kenta, because like Jamie said right now, Kenta is very dangerous, and because of the fact that he wants gold, and then you take into account it's the United States Championship, which has yet to be held by anybody from New Japan, at least a non-American or non-Gaijin. Sorry. So Kenta wins it. He'll be the first non-Gaijin to hold the championship. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there.
Here's and I'm sorry to interrupt, Jay. Here's where I have to go ahead and kind of disagree with you on that part with WWE. But the thing is, yes, he was misused when he was in 205. But he also
did somebody say United States Championship? What's going on over here?
Whoa, what the?
But you also have to think about this as well. He was injury ridden.
This time, baby.
You know, he was hurt. For the Dusty Rhodes Classic, he was supposed to team up with
Kotobushi.
And what happened? He got injured. So it's not the fact that yes, he was misused, but at the same time, he was injured. He was injury ridden, and obviously, you guys want to start showing off your belts. I'll bring out mine too. No, I'm just kidding.
JK, hey, you're talking about the United States Championship, so I thought this was very relevant over here.
Well, I mean, I was also going to ask you,
United States Championship, by the way, just a heads
well,
up.
no, but there's a slight confusion there because we're talking about relevant United States Championship.
No, I don't think so.
And the one from New Japan is a hell of a lot more relevant than the one in WWE.
Well, the only thing making it relevant right now is the fact that there is a Gaijin that is the United States champion, and that's Jon Moxley, okay?
And I was going to ask Mike your thoughts on the match when it would happen. Would you be interested in watching the match based on the fact that you're familiar with Moxley, you're familiar with Kenta?
I mean, I definitely would be interested in watching. Obviously, I'm not as far as educated on the New Japan stuff like you guys are. But I definitely would love to watch it. I really enjoyed Hideo Itami's or Kenta's time in WWE. Like Adon said, they really didn't use him. He ended up getting hurt halfway through his run. So he had momentum before he got his injury, I believe, a little bit of momentum. And then after that, it was just downhill from there. They didn't use him. They just threw him in a bunch of tag matches with a bunch of nobodies. Well, I wouldn't say nobodies, but, there was really no relevancy with him as far as any major feuds or, any specific title runs going on for him. I definitely think, yes, this is something that's going to be a good thing for him, obviously. And I really hope he is the one that drops Moxley from that title.
Possibly, and of
From
course,
this title right here.
Yeah. Then, of course, an early contender for match of the year, Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay. Man, what a match this was! I mean, 5.25 stars as rated by the Observer, but the match itself told the story, all based on betrayal, jealousy, Ospreay forming a new group with the United Empire. But in the end, it still did not matter, as the man that New Japan has had the spotlight on for a very long time, Kazuchika Okada, was able to outshine Will Ospreay already in this instant classic. Jaime, your thoughts on this matchup?
Like you said, it was a great back and forth match. The match itself lasted about 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And I love how Mike still has the Kenny Omega image on. It was a great match. So again, another win column or another W in the win column for Okada, and we'll see where he goes from here in 2021. Both men. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. And the fact that he used the Rainmaker for the first time since last year's Wrestle Kingdom to get the Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Something he had not done. He's been using that Cobra Clutch submission, the money clip, for so long, but ultimately Okada had to go back into the bag of tricks and use what ultimately brought him to the dance, and that's that clothesline that's called the Rainmaker, which ultimately put away the Commonwealth Kingpin.
So I mean, it was a great match on that one.
And of course, Don, your thoughts on that match? Hearing about the result of Okada and Ospreay.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed that Ospreay didn't win it. I think it would have been a good push for the momentum. But considering the fact that his team had already lost the match prior, I was really kind of hoping he would have taken the win. But, I get it. Okada is a big deal. And you can't just beat Okada just like that. Like,
yeah.
The one thing that I appreciate about New Japan Pro Wrestling is that they really know how to put together a story for every wrestler that's been there. Like, you look at Kenny Omega versus Okada. You look at the battle that Naito had, trying to get his Wrestle Kingdom win. Everybody has their WrestleMania moments, but Naito got screwed so many times, because of Okada or because of Tanahashi. Like everything just went against them, but the story they told was beautiful. So I'm hoping that the story that they're planning to build for Ospreay and his group is one that they can build up to possibly next year, depending on where they're going with all this. Because now that we have who's the main champion, we'll get to that in a bit. But things can change, and due to current events in the U.S., things can really change and really make an impact in wrestling, depending on how things go. But because there is somebody out there who might want to collect those belts, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's not just Mike, who's known for his belt collecting that he initially was known for at one point, but that's another story for another time. But speaking of belts, but more importantly, championships.
He changed his picture because he's the one who controls this show. He got the head of the table on his icon now.
There, like everybody.
Back to a main event that's better than the Island of Relevancy. Tetsuya Naito and Kota Ibushi for the double crown. Another breathtaking match between these two. And every time these two men meet, it's always a concern of, you're going to have a great match, but there's always something that'll make you hold your breath wondering, are these two going to come out alive? And this was no different in this battle with El Ingobernable and the Golden Star for the two greatest prizes in all of wrestling, the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championship. But in the end, it took not one, not two, but three Kamagoyes. I mean, one normally finishes off somebody as it is, but for Tetsuya Naito to withstand three until finally it was no more, Kota Ibushi finally becomes Intercontinental Champion for a second time, but ultimately finally becomes IWGP Heavyweight Champion for the very first time in what was just another hard-hitting battle and another hard-hitting Tokyo Dome caliber main event at Wrestle Kingdom. And with that, you would think, oh man, this could be a match of the year, but we weren't even done yet. That was just night one. Night two was just as hard-hitting as night one, but before we spill over into night two, I mean, Jaime, I'm sure you were at the edge of your seat for Naito and Ibushi. Your thoughts on what was another contender for 2021 match of the year, and granted, we're only just a few days into the year.
I mean, it was also another great match. Ibushi, a lot of people had questioned him. Can you win the big one? Can you win the big one? Now that Kenny Omega is not in New Japan anymore, can you win the big one? And he proved that he can indeed win the big one. And like you said, it was a back and forth, hard-hitting match for both of them. I enjoyed it. Every second, I was on the edge of my seat. I enjoyed it. And I personally thought it was a great match. I think it was a match of the year contender, despite the fact that we just started the year. So who knows? It might be match of the year, might be, match of
the decade.
Probably. Who knows?
And of course, Adon, I know you've always been a very big supporter of Tetsuya Naito and Los Ingobernables, similar to Milano Collection AT over at the New Japan Announce team.
Tranquilo.
But Adon, but of course, Adon, your thoughts on Ibushi defeating Naito in what was a true classic?
I mean, you honestly, like, when you see the card, the way they built it, the story that's behind it, I think it was myself and one more other person who watches New Japan was really hoping that Naito would have kept it, because it would have just cemented on how great of a champion he is for him to be able to win them and then retain them within a year's time. However, considering the fact of the storyline that you have with Kota Ibushi, who, for a good, while had that tie with Kenny Omega, he was there when Kenny won his championship, but Kenny's not there now, so he's basically on his own. So the story was very good for like the character development of Kota Ibushi as far as New Japan is concerned. And I think with the little twist that they had where he lost the briefcase to Jay White, it really added that bit of like, okay, so he's getting a shot, but it's his only shot. And then even if he wins it, he has to go on the next night to defend it against Jay White. So it was a real testament to his character. And I think knowing the work that he can produce, knowing the work that Naito can produce, even though I didn't get to see the match, I can only imagine how insane that match was. Again, because of scheduling, I couldn't watch it, so I basically just went off of whatever I could get. But yeah, I mean, normally in most cases, I would just pull for Naito 100%. But again, the story just really built it for Kota. So,
and of course, Mike, in the past, you've mentioned you've expressed to me that you're not the biggest Naito supporter, but you've always had a liking for Ibushi dating back to the Cruiserweight Classic almost 5 years ago. Your thoughts on hearing of Ibushi becoming the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Champion?
Well, Naito was Wrestle Kingdom. He was the guy that would just flip and throw the championships around, wasn't he? Or was that somebody else?
That was Naito, yes.
That was Naito, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't really give a huge take on it. Obviously, like I'm familiar with Ibushi because of the Cruiserweight Classic. I was a big fan of his. I really wish that he should have been the guy to win the original WWE Cruiserweight Classic a couple of years back, right? That was something I'm sure everyone else thought as well. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, like I agree with the Don that if the storytelling is there, you know what I mean, then it doesn't matter who wins at the end of the day. I mean, obviously, you're gonna have one person's gonna go home the winner, one person is gonna go home the loser. I think Ibushi definitely deserved it, obviously, though, if they're gonna put him in that spot, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, some people might disagree.
Yeah.
Like Jaime. There you go.
No, sorry. I had to take care of some business. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
business.
overall, of course, night one was a fantastic night of wrestling. I mean, it is New Japan Pro Wrestling. You never go home disappointed. And of course, on night two, of course, we began with the KOPW 2021 finale with Toru Yano, Bushi, Bad Luck Fale, and Chase Owens. Jaime, since you're the biggest Toru Yano fan I know of, and I mean this in a complimentary sense, this one's all yours, buddy.
So the match basically started off as Chase Owens and Bad Luck Fale teaming up against Bushi and Yano. They basically tried to make it seem that they didn't want either one of them to walk away with the trophy, and that they wanted the trophy to, again, stay in the Bully Club. But eventually, like most matches, when you have two teammates and you guys are going against each other, basically, eventually you're going to take on each other, and that's what ended up happening. They stopped each other from getting pinfalls. They were saying, hey, you know what? You don't win the match, we win the match. But, it was either Fale trying to make the pin or Chase Owens trying to make the pin for Bullet Club. Eventually, they were discussing things with the ref, and my monitor just went blank. I don't know what happened. All I know is that
happened to you too?
Yeah, I mean, eventually Yano was declared the provisional King of Pro Wrestling 2021 winner. So that's when I thought of, what? Move over, Becky 2 belts. It's Yano's time. It's Yano 2 trophy.
And for those that disagree, all we can just tell them is
that's like saying move over at Sami Zayn's trophies over here.
Sami Zayn's slammies have nothing.
Not Sammy's, okay.
Or whatever they're called, but
yeah.
at least Yano's got a championship. Zayn, unfortunately for himself, no longer has one.
Yeah.
But it's all good though. And then, of course, back on the night two, I got to tell you, how hard was the Shingo Takagi Jeff Cobb match in that hard-hitting affair that ultimately could, in my opinion, it made Jeff Cobb an established star in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Yes, Cobb was known for his time in Ring of Honor. He would come in and out of New Japan and was often featured on the NJPW Strong Show. But this is the match. Even though he did not beat Shingo Takagi for the Never Openweight Championship, this match, even in defeat, is what's helped Jeff Cobb become the next big gaijin in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mean, I'm no Empire supporter, but I will say that, those two, they brought their A game and more. It basically, like what Gerald Briscoe once said about the Macho Man and Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. Although that was the undercard, the main event was Hogan and Andre. That match did not need to be the main event to steal the show, but in many ways they stole the show, did the Dragon and the Hawaiian Juggernaut in what was like I said, just a very physical, hard-hitting battle for the never openweight title.
Yep, it was an incredible match. And I really wanted to see Jeff Cobb walk away with the belt once again, but I mean, Shingo Takagi ended up winning, and he bested Jeff Cobb in that match.
It was just wow. I mean, literally, I practically almost lost my voice just watching that match. That's how intense it was. And we were still at least 2 or 3 more matches left into the main card of night 2. Then, of course, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title matchup, a little bit of a downer for you, Jaime, I know, with Yoshinobu Kanemaru and El Desperado defeating the Funky Weapon Ryosuke Taguchi and the Weight of the Grand Master, Master Wato. I know you were hoping Wato and Taguchi would have walked out with the titles, but unfortunately, those titles still in the Suzuki-gun camp by way of Desperado and Kanemaru. Thoughts on that matchup?
Another great match. I like you said, I wanted 8 or 1 or 1 or 8, the team of Taguchi and Wato to win. But I mean, unfortunately, it still has to stay with Chaos, so we'll see where they go from there. Suzuki-gun, sorry.
Yeah.
In regards to how and when they defend their titles as well.
Definitely. And, of course, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, another match of the year contender, the Bone Soldier Taiji Shimori against Hiromu Takahashi. Takahashi coming back from not only a broken neck at last year's Wrestle Kingdom to where he won the title from Will Ospreay, but also retired Jushin Liger. But this year, winning Best of Super Juniors, defeating, of course, El Phantasmo in a battle between the Best of Super Juniors and Super J-Cup. Ultimately, his crowning moment at Wrestle Kingdom, defeating Taiji Shimori for the Junior Heavyweight title in what was a rarity, seeing the Junior Heavyweight Championship being in the semi-main event of a Tokyo Dome event for New Japan, and many considering Hiromu Takahashi as the face of Junior Heavyweight Wrestling. Don't, forget about the cruiserweights over in some other company or the X Division somewhere else or whatever. As far as the face of the 205-pound weight division known as the Junior Heavyweights, Hiromu Takahashi, in many ways, may have just elevated the status of that division that we may have not seen since perhaps the likes of even Jushin Thunder Liger. And yet Ishimori was the champion heading into all this, but yet the talk was all about the time bomb, and yet the time bomb proved he is the man, the head of the Junior Heavyweight table, and he doesn't need to call himself that. He just is. And Tuesday night proved it. I'll get first your thoughts, Jaime, on that, and Adon, your analysis on Takahashi's rise in the Junior Heavyweight division in just a bit. But yeah, I'm trying to ignore that picture. So Jaime, your thoughts, please, on Takahashi versus Ishimori.
Takahashi, he reclaimed what was, his, and it was only a matter of time. Ever since his return from injury from that neck injury years ago, it was only a matter of time as to when that when it was going to be night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom 15, because he did become the number 1 contender for that title. So I mean, I it was another match that I really enjoyed watching. I was really glad that Ishimori did lose the title and hand it over to Takahashi. So now it's in better hands, if you will.
And Adon, your analysis on Takahashi being the face of the Junior Heavyweight class.
Well, first off, the head of the table pun that you threw in there was completely unnecessary. Understandable. Second, as Jaime mentioned, Takahashi coming back from his injury several years ago, back in 2020. Yeah, I'm fucking ecstatic for him to do it. And you know what? He didn't just do it for himself. He did it for Daryl.
Yes.
Who knew that a plush cat could be so popular?
And they still sell the replica plush cats over at the global store for New Japan. So it's too bad those are still available, only because of the fact that the vinyl figure of Takahashi is sold out. That was something I really wanted to get to add to the collection, but it's all good though. But ultimately, for Takahashi, him being, like I said, he is. I mean, I've never seen that much focus on a junior heavyweight wrestler, like I said, since Liger or a Rey Mysterio way back when. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we all know that, of course, in March, New Japan has the anniversary show. I wouldn't be surprised where what normally is the main event. It's the heavyweight versus the junior heavyweight champion. If we see Kota Ibushi and Hiromu Takahashi, two guys who are cut from the same cloth, I would not be surprised if it headlines this coming anniversary show in March, but still got a long way to go. But main event, Kota Ibushi versus Switchblade Jay White. Ibushi's time to finally erase those 3 losses in defeating Switchblade Jay White on wrestling's grandest stage for wrestling's 2 greatest prizes. I mean, granted, Ibushi went through hell with Naito the night before. Switchblade, he had the night off. He could do whatever he wanted on January the 4th, but at the end, Kota Ibushi proved that he was going to become the next deity, be much like his heroes before, like Nakamura and Tanahashi, and be the next king in New Japan by defeating and surpassing Switchblade Jay White. But it wasn't just the match was great itself, but it was also the story thereafter. Sonata calling out Ibushi and Switchblade's shocking comments at the press conference that I remember, Jaime, you forwarded to me that information that really kind of got some people thinking, hey, what's going on here?
Yep. For the before we actually move on to the main event, Sonata did take on Evil.
Yes.
In I guess like the third match, but
yeah, there you go. I was trying to remember what other match.
Third match before the main event. So Sonata did end up beating Evil. And then Ibushi ended up beating Jay White in a classic match.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to decide, which of the two would win match of the year. When you have both matches with Kota Ibushi, but they are against one against Naito and the other one against Jay White. Kota Ibushi ended up winning, but in after the event, after the event went off air per se, Kota Ibushi and Sonata ended up sharing the ring, and I'm assuming that Sonata said, "Hey, you know what? I'm coming for you, and I'm coming for the belt."
He did.
So
he said that.
So basically, we already have a challenger already set for said belt. In the press conference, Jay White, he was upset. He was tired. He was taken into New Japan as a young lion, and all he wanted to do is win gold. The young man just wanted to win gold. And he said, you know what? After New Year's Dash, I don't care, whether I'm contractually obligated or not, but I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm done. I haven't seen my family since this whole pandemic, and basically just ranting on. Again, I don't really blame the guy, in regards to the pandemic. The pandemic has affected each and every one of us somehow, some way, and it affected, travel and everything. So I really can't blame him. The fact that he couldn't win the big one and just wants to take his ball and go home. I mean, it's something different, and we already have a question that says, what are you guys' thoughts on Jay White leaving in New Japan? Do you think he'll go to WWE, AEW, or is he playing an angle the same with Marty Scurll? I mean, Marty Scurll I don't think that one is an angle. That one, because of what had gone on with the Me Too movement in professional wrestling, a lot of stuff has gone on, and basically he technically admitted to what he did, but he also said that it was consensual. It's kind of hard to say, hey, you know what, Marty Scurll is going to come back into the ring. There's a lot of people affected with their own types of way. You have Travis Banks, you have Joey Ryan, you have all these different people that have had their own instances and stuff.
Okay, so I'll touch on that in a bit, but like answering Robert's question as far as the situation with Jay White, it could possibly be an angle. That's one of the things that's been causing a lot of traction lately on the dirt sheets. And then the biggest one that's been going around is that Triple H is apparently making a huge run for Jay White, because I think they know that Jay White is easily on AEW's radar because of the boys, because of the EVPs. They all are aware of what he can do. Kenny, the Bucks, even Cody knows how well he is in the ring. And Jay White's had to grow. I mean, he's grown as a young lion, but he had to grow faster when they put him in charge of the Bullet Club. And a lot of people were not fans of that. And it's not so much that we didn't, like I was one of them, but it wasn't that I didn't like Jay White. It's just that they didn't build to him joining the Bullet Club. It was just like, oh, guess who's in the Bullet Club? And he's the leader. So he got kind of thrown into the mix. Do I think he should go to AEW or WWE? I think if he wants to be in a place where he can be comfortable and have a very limited schedule where he only has to go to work, he has to be away from his family maybe 2 days at most, go for AEW. That's right now, that's the best bet. But WWE could be pushing so much money, and if he chooses to, he can go there. If he goes to WWE, his best bet is just to stay on NXT for the rest of his life and never go to the main roster. But that all depends on Jay and what he decides to do. I mean, I can't guarantee WWE will keep him. Look at the Good Brothers. They dished out all that money to keep him there, so they wouldn't go to AEW, and then the Good Brothers wound up leaving, going to Impact. So we'll have to see what happens there. But I mean,
from what I've heard, though, he's under a 7-year contract. Though, is Jay White. If in fact he was offered by AEW an opportunity to go over there when they were still in their forming stages, but he had told them that he had just signed for 7 years. So technically, that would make him under contract till 2025. But
right, that's why the Angle thing is more of a situation. Like he could be going under. He's probably going to either redo his character and not be Switchblade anymore, which I think is not the best idea because I like the Switchblade character, but maybe he wants to try something different, see how that works.
Or just come back when we least expect it.
No, that too.
Yeah. But ultimately, of course, Wrestle Kingdom, of course, ended with Kota Ibushi leaving on the stage, walking up the big rampway with the fireworks popping, with him holding the IWGP Heavyweight Intercontinental title. Reminded me of an old school WrestleMania moment. But in the past few years, I've been outspoken about how I felt that the flair for WrestleMania, no pun intended, has kind of been, although 35 I thought was great with Becky winning the 2 belts. Before then, between 32 to 34 was hit or miss, mostly miss. And last year was great, but because of the pandemic, they were kind of at a disadvantage, not being able to do a WrestleMania in front of a large crowd like last year's Wrestle Kingdom, or this year's for that matter. But for Ibushi to have walked out with the championships, it was like, a feel-good story that was told right. And yeah, you're right. He's already got a challenger with Sonata. And I'm just hoping with Sonata, he's just not one of those guys that is a perennial contender, but never wins the big one. I'm hoping eventually Sonata does get his time. I'm not saying, hey, I want him to beat Ibushi when they do meet, but hopefully before when all's said and done, the Cold Skull is the next from LIJ to hold the IWGP Heavyweight Intercontinental title, because he's had some great matches with Okada for the title. Same thing with Ibushi. He is just, in my opinion, a champion waiting to happen. And the fact that, hey, he didn't come out there and try to do what Kenta did at Naito last year. He had said, hey, you and I have had some great matches. I beat you in the G1. I'm sorry, no. Bushi beat Sonata. No, actually, now that I think about it, I don't think they wrestled in the G1. They were in two different blocks. But for those two to have to do battle, it's going to show another case of, hey, the best man is going to end up winning in that one. May the best man win, as they say. And when it happens, awesome. I mean, other matches have been tossed out there that were teased during New Year's Dash, such as Shingo Takagi and Hiroshi Tanahashi for the never open weight belt, which I think is going to be awesome. Hiromu Takahashi and Sho for the junior heavyweight title, perhaps a potential rematch with Gorillas of Destiny and Dangerous Techers for the heavyweight titles. And then also perhaps possibly Desperado and Kanemaru against the Bone Soldier and Phantasmo for the junior heavyweight titles. Just that what I love about New Japan, it's like just because the big stories ended Wrestle Kingdom doesn't mean, we'll think of something later. There's already stories coming out to anticipate, hence why their next shows thereafter are called The New Beginning, because it's a new beginning, a new season for New Japan, and can't wait to see what goes on for New Japan in 2021. And while Wrestle Kingdom was just an awesome 2-night of wrestling, double night of action.
Hang on. Before you continue, I do want to go ahead and kind of interrupt you, Jay. I do apologize. So, do want to let you know that Impact did have a Impact Plus pay-per-view event called Genesis.
Yeah.
Where they're showcasing the Super X Cup tournament. So I do have some of the match results. The competitors were Ace Austin, Suicide, Blake Christian, Casey Navarro, Cousin Jake, Davari, Crazy Steve, and Trey Lamar. So Ace Austin defeated Suicide. Blake Christian defeated Casey Navarro. Cousin Jake defeated Davari, and Crazy Steve defeated Trey Lamar. That was his first round. Semifinals was Ace Austin defeating Cousin Jake. Blake Christian defeating Crazy Steve in the semifinal. The seventh match of the night was Jordan Grace defeating Jazz. And then the tournament finals, Ace Austin defeated Christian Blake, and the main event was an I Quit match between Willie Mack and Moose. So the match ended as pretty much Moose tried to technically kill Willie Mack with a steel chair wrapped around his neck after Willie Mack was unconscious. Rich Swann, the Impact World Champion, had to intervene and try to convince Moose to kind of stop him from said action. So he asked him, hey, I'll give you a championship match if you just say I quit. So Willie Mack ended up defeating Moose in the I Quit match.
Who did Swann offer the title shot to?
To Moose.
For Moose to say I quit, or for Mack to say I quit?
For Moose to say I quit.
Oh, for Moose to voluntarily say it.
Yeah. So Moose said I quit, and Willie Mack is your winner.
I see. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's bound to happen, especially since Moose has been walking around with the replica TNA World Heavyweight title that's been inactive since 2017. But of course, I'm sure Rich Swann's got some more big fish on his plate come next Saturday night at Hard to Kill. But we'll get to that in a bit, of course. In fact, you know what? We're on such a roll right now since we've been talking about Wrestle Kingdom. I really don't want to talk about Raw or SmackDown this past week, so I'm gonna.
Okay. So this is what we're gonna do. So that way we don't have to go into the whole depths of it. So for those of you who are watching who are WWE fans, Raw was shit. They brought a bunch of old people back to the show. They took away from all the young guys. And what was the big kicker at the end of Monday Night Raw when Drew McIntyre was out there? Goldberg.
And what did Goldberg do?
Goldberg cut the shittiest promo I have ever heard him cut. And that's because he cuts a bunch of shitty promos.
They gave Drew a push on Monday.
But to the
That's not-
side.
Yeah. Friday night on SmackDown, they give us Shinsuke Nakamura being a face just for Roman to put Adam Pearce, a guy who's not wrestled since 2014.
Hang on.
You shut your mouth when you're talking about Scrap Daddy, all right? You show
The 5-time NWA World's Champion. Come on.
Damn right.
It's nothing bad against Pearce, but the fact that he hasn't wrestled in years, but only because of the fact that Roman is looking at Pearce.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But still, the fact that they gave us something cool with Nakamura going back, obviously in the babyface role, because SmackDown needs the strong babyfaces.
They didn't make him a babyface because he never got his shit in. He just got the shit beat out of him.
But he shook Daniel Bryan's hand after he had already defeated Mysterio, Corbin, and Bryan in the gauntlet match. The old Nakamura would not have done that. He probably would have done to Bryan what he did to Styles at WrestleMania 34.
Look, my opinion is this. Yes, did WWE do the right thing by having a match with Roman Reigns and Adam Pearce? I mean, it's questionable. I mean, given his credentials, at least it's not James Ellsworth. All right? We've had worse matches with that guy. Remember that. Okay?
I try to forget that. What are you talking about?
He's had like 2 or 3 title matches. All right? This is the NWA World's Champion. All right? Yes, in WWE, they erase everyone's memory and just make it seem like, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and give this guy up as a jobber. You never know. They might be building up for him to try to at least have a chance to try to win the title. You never know.
I didn't like it. I just felt that it was just once again, it was basically another case of, hey, Roman being the bad guy with no fan favorite giving him the comeuppance he deserves. I mean, it's been that way. I mean, Owens versus Reigns was good on paper, but when every week on SmackDown it ended with Owens getting the short end of the stick, at the end it was like, how are we supposed to continue to believe in KO if he's always losing to Reigns?
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like the WWE was devaluing Owens by having him lose to Reigns in these ridiculous manners, or having him lose the show in terms of where at the end it's always about Reigns and the head of the table, which I'm sorry, but those head of the table promos are migraine impacted. I'm just, oh my God, I'm sorry, not a fan of it. That's just how it is. And it's not an indictment on Adam Pearce. I'm sorry, guys. But to me, the fact that they're mainly just using him just for Reigns to believe he's going to get an easy payday for the Royal Rumble, what does it do to the fans who are thinking, hey, we're going to see a top caliber Universal title matchup, when all it is Reigns possibly thinking he's going to get an easy payday by having Pearce, lay down for him or threaten his job or else, with stuff like that? I mean, come on. But
Look, man. Like, I get it. Like, you're almost as passionate as this dude that I came across on TikTok. Huge wrestling fan, by the way.
I saw that video, by the way.
The dude is like a really educated guy. Like, the dude's like he would get along great with us. Well, more with me in the heel section because we have similar viewpoints. I can tell he would fucking hate Juan or Jaime. But like that's just because Jaime's a Melvin, but that's totally different story.
Is your friend a Briscoes fan?
I mean, you look, man, the guy's educated. But anyways, that's the point.
Fair enough.
But like, you're upset at the wrong thing. Like, you're mad because you're thinking like, oh, this is a horrible thing to put on a pay-per-view. Yes, it is. And you have WWE Creative to blame for that, because that's their idea of, hey, let's put on a marquee match for the Royal Rumble so people can watch. But because they don't have anybody who they can put up against Roman, which is bullshit. They have so many guys they can put up against Roman.
Big
They
E.
have guys that are in NXT that, in my opinion, would be great to go up against Roman. Adam Cole would be one of those guys.
Hey,
Like,
babe.
that is the guy I would love to put in the spotlight right away
Here's
against Roman.
here's what I heard around, and I'm pretty sure you guys have heard it too. Last week they were supposed to debut Damian Priest, and
Yes.
they said no because just out of random, Damian Priest was going to start being Kevin Owens' best friend.
Yeah,
it's kind
because
of
apparently Damian Priest was supposed to have this history with Kevin Owens, which is bullshit because
they've never had history.
we've never had a history with him. I would believe it more so with Sami Zayn,
Yeah,
but they're not using Sami Zayn that way. They're using him a completely different way. Unless Generico comes back, which is I doubt it.
he's in Mexico. Remember?
They said
Well,
the same thing about Tommaso Ciampa being called up for the exact same reason.
Yeah, but Ciampa said that he's not moving up at all.
Right, but they were thinking, well, if they were to do that, it's because he and KO have history because they were both in Ring of Honor at the same time before they left the company about a year apart from one another. Priest, yeah, you're right, didn't make sense because Priest didn't get into Ring of Honor till about 2 years after KO left.
Yep,
roughly.
So, yeah, that would not have made any sense. But then again, they've also said, "Oh, we're going to call Rhea Ripley up to the main roster," and that's yet to happen. And we're not exactly wanting that to happen, but that's out of our control.
Rhea Ripley's another one of those people that they ruined. Like, her loss to Charlotte at WrestleMania was honestly what I think derailed her from her momentum. Because after that, Charlotte didn't lose it to Ripley. Again, she lost it to Io Shirai, and then nobody's ever been able to get it off Io Shirai since then.
But then again, also when you look at it, it was not even Charlotte that took the loss. It was actually Rhea Ripley.
Yes, and I'm aware. Exactly. That's why I'm saying her momentum got completely derailed because of her loss to Charlotte.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because Charlotte needs this win at WrestleMania so that her career can blossom. She was already Divas champion. She was already NXT Women's champion. She's
a freaking player.
Exactly. That last name gives her so much advantage over everybody else. The only thing that puts me at ease is that Alexa Bliss was able to hold both SmackDown and Raw Women's championships before anybody else.
Sir, is your son around so he can whack you across the head?
My son loves me, sir.
Not what I saw the other day. Sir Ford.
I know what you're talking about, sir.
Sir Ford.
Oh. That's my profile picture on Facebook. He's just doing the Silver Surfer impression. Anyways, let's get to the good shit. I'm not talking about NXT. Let's just skip NXT too because it's WWE related. I want to talk about NXT.
Hang on.
Well, it's NXT. It's the good stuff. I mean, Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly, another great rematch between the Prince and perhaps the next champion of the Undisputed Era. I mean, ultimately, their first match was perhaps one of the best matches of 2020. But 21.
It was the Demon versus the Diabetic. Too soon?
Really?
What? It's a joke.
I didn't know it. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
But also, of course, and when you also look at it, I mean, the top to bottom, that show was awesome. As far as the at New Year's Evil. I mean, Rhea Ripley getting defeated by the RGV's own Raquel Gonzalez in a very, very outstanding last woman standing matchup.
Hey, did you know that rumor has it that you can still hear Dakota Kai screaming from the lockers?
Oh my god!
But yeah, it was a great event. You
and your dad jokes, I swear.
Look, sir, I'm not the only dad here. Okay, so another great match was Damian Priest versus
Karrion Kross.
Yes, it was a great match. Great back and forth.
A battle of two legit tough guys. A guy, one who studied karate early on, and the other that studied every different combat sport out there. You can guess who is who. And also one that was really underrated, that really kind of flew under the radar. But when I saw it, a lot better match than I expected. That was Santos Escobar and Grand Metalik for the cruiserweight title.
Why? Why did you?
Because I know you watch NXT first, then you watch AEW because of the special TNT channel. I go back and forth with the two shows.
Look, to me, that match, it was great. It told.
I didn't say it wasn't great.
I'm just saying. To me, that match told a great story. I would have wished that Grand Metalik should have walked away with the title, but to me, it was a lucha libre type of match because I mean, obviously, you know, they both come from the lucha libre background, and I mean, it's cruiserweight championship, you know, it's high flying, it's all these crazy stuff. So I thought it was a great match.
And I just hope that Lucha House Party eventually moves over to NXT on a full-time basis where they could be appreciated and where they can get rightful title opportunities instead of having to chase a certain championship every Monday. But anyway, and then, of course, over at AEW, another fantastic main event, Kenny Omega versus Phoenix for the world title. And then what we saw thereafter when Jon Moxley made the save.
Whoa.
What?
How is it? What kind of bias is that? You go over the entire ridiculous card of NXT, and then you just jump to the finish of AEW Dynamite?
Hang on, sir. Hang on. He did not go through the entire card. He skipped some matches and then went to AEW.
Exactly.
Regardless.
Okay, Payne.
Well, I mean, if I'm going to talk about AEW, might as well kick things off with their 5-star main event this past Wednesday, right?
No, you start from the first match, which was Wardlow. Oh well, yeah, it was a tag team match. Sorry, it was the tag team match between the Bucks and SCU taking on the Acclaimed.
Well, before we go over New Year's Smash, I think we should all acknowledge the passing of Mr. Brody Lee here.
Yes. I mean, 2020 was a cluster of a year, but one of the final things that unfortunately we got dealt was the passing of Brody Lee, also known as Luke Harper in the WWE, a true great athletic big man, but also from the stories I've heard, just an overall great man in general. I was shocked to hear about it the day after Christmas, about his passing on the AEW Facebook page via Tony Khan and the statement he put out. But my personal memories of Brody, I never got to see, well, I mean, I did get the chance to see Brody Lee live, whether on the Indies or with AEW, obviously because of the pandemic, but did get to with WWE, including also when, at a time when they really could have done something big with him, when he was being teased as being taken from or splitting from the Wyatt family. He wasn't advertised for the January 2017 WWE Hidalgo show, but at the same time, though, it was Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt taking on American Alpha for the SmackDown titles. American Alpha retained, and yet Orton and Wyatt put the boots to him. In comes Luke Harper. We're thinking, oh, all's well with the Wyatt family. Instead, Harper cleans house with those spinning discus clotheslines that only he can throw, and just got such a huge pop that night in Hidalgo. But yet, for whatever reason, WWE, and not to discredit WWE, just for whatever reason, never really ran with it. But when he came to AEW, the stuff he did with the Dark Order, both on Dynamite as well as being the Elite, was just, genius. I mean, one, his stuff on being the Elite was especially how he would, use with his weapon of choice, the papers. That was always comical. But at the same time, though, it's just too bad that a guy that at his age is now no longer with us. And, for Tony Khan to also retire the original TNT championship that Brody held during his title run this past summer and give it to his son, Brody Jr., I just thought was very classy. And overall, his presence will be missed. And, we thank you, Mr. Brody Lee, for everything you've done, both in wrestling and in life. And, it just sucks you're gone, man. But I just wish you were still here with us, man. That's all I can say.
And I'm gonna talk about this because I was sitting down here in my house. I was watching It was the 26th, and so I was watching. I think I was watching Big Mouth or something. I don't know. And I was just kind of going through my phone, and I see the graphic. Immediately message the graphic to my friends from the heel section, so Will and Juan, and both of them were just like they didn't catch it before I did, so they when I broke it to them, it was something new, and I just remember just being like hit like the last time we saw him on TV was in the dog collar match against Cody, and I just remember thinking like, man, like he didn't even get to do that much in AEW, and again, it's like you said, right now about him being in WWE. I'm not saying WWE, screwed him over. They just didn't use him, in the singles way that they could have.
Yeah.
He had a brief Intercontinental title run, but he was always with Rowan in a tag team, whether it was with the Wyatt family or the Bludgeon Brothers. But when he went to AEW and he debuted as the Exalted One, it was very awesome but heartbreaking moment because he was supposed to debut that in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Rochester, New York.
Rochester.
New York. Sorry, yeah, Rochester.
Yes,
I'm sorry, my bad. He was supposed to debut in his home city, or hometown, and he was excited about it. But then the pandemic hit us, and he couldn't do it. So when he did debut, throwing everybody off because everybody thought, oh, it's going to be Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy's going to be the Exalted One. And his name was being thrown around too, but everybody was pointing to Matt. But then when he revealed himself to be the Exalted One, he did those vignettes when he was doing the Vince McMahon gimmick, and then he changed up the suit so that he could give it that that Brody Lee essence of it. He started wearing like specific colors to kind of accentuate his he's the guy that's running the Dark Order. And then the BTEs, like you said, were hilarious because it wasn't just him, but it was a group effort from the entire unit of the Dark Order, from Silver, Reynolds. You had Uno, you had Grayson, you had the lovely Anna Jay, you had Colt Cabunny. All of them.
Even an appearance from Sue at one point.
Yeah. But here's the thing, man. Let's talk about that tribute show.
Yeah.
I have not seen a tribute show that emotional since the Eddie Guerrero tribute show that they did when he passed away.
Yeah.
And this one was just perfect. Like everything was perfect, from the opening bell, from the 10 bell salute that they did, and his sons were in front. One of his youngest son, I think it's Nolan, was in his ring gear. And then Brody Lee Jr. was in the suit with the mask and the kendo stick. And I thought that right there just got me. Colt Cabana coming out in tears, not being able to hold back the tears. Jericho saying, you know what? It's okay to cry, damn it. And then the whole night was great. Like they did it perfectly. Like all the Dark Orders were faces, during their respective matches. Everybody just pulled out all the stops. The emotion behind all the wins was great. Dark Order, every match was won by a Dark Order member, but the one match that stood out the most to me, and I don't know about you guys, but for me, it was a 6-man tag match where it was Hangman, Silver, and Reynolds.
Yes.
Against MJF and Proud and Powerful. And that match was just so well done because MJF was just a complete asshole, which was something that I can appreciate about him all the time. He went up, he got in Brody Lee Jr.'s face at the beginning of the match. Then you have them, wrestling against, Hangman, Reynolds, and Silver comes in on the hot tag, just starts laying everybody out, and you hear Jerry say, "What a white meat baby face." As soon as he hits the crossbody, and then, he pulls off this crazy ass destroyer on friggin' I want to say it was MJF. And basically like gets him in the corner, and he does this dive, and he gets back in the ring, and he's just so pumped. And then all of a sudden Wardlow comes out and just starts, beating up on the Dark Order. And I'm thinking, damn, like who's gonna come out? I'm thinking, who's maybe the other Dark Order members are gonna come out. No, who comes out? It's fucking Rowan. And you hear Jericho, oh, it's Eric Rowan, Redbeard, him and Excalibur like fighting over who it was. Yeah. And then he takes out I'm sorry, did I say Wardlow? I meant it was Wardlow.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think
it was Wardlow.
It was okay. Wardlow.
Oh, it was Wardlow. Okay. So yeah, he takes him out, and then they do this. The three. It's Silver, Reynolds, and Hangman do this triple move set on. I want to say Santana, or yeah, I think it was Santana. And then you have Hangman hit the buckshot lariat. They go for the pin. MJF puts the foot on the rope. Then he gets in front of Brody Lee Jr.'s face, rips off the mask, spits on it, and then Brody Lee Jr., being a consummate professional, covers his face like any luchador would. Covers his face. They give him the kendo stick, and he whacks MJF on the head. Hangman slingshots out to take him out. And then you have the piece de resistance. Silver curls his mustache, and then he does the discus clothesline. He pins, I think it was Santana. And then as soon as he gets the win, he just drops to the floor. Redbeard comes out, has that sign that you see on the screen right there. And, like all of them are just embracing, hugging, crying. Man, that match was everything. Like, it was everything. That match was perfect. Like, I was watching it with my friend Saul, and the minute that Rowan came out, or Redbeard came out, like, we got emotional, man, because like that was a guy that had been tagging with John Huber for years. They had a relationship, they had a bond in wrestling, and to see him be the one to come out was like extremely heart-wrenching. And then you have the match with Cody and Ten, who was Brody Lee Jr.'s main guy from the Dark Order that he liked. And then they do the ceremony where they show the video, which was beautifully done. They put the boots in the middle of the ring. They put the bandana on top of the boots, and then Tony Khan gets handed the TNT Championship. And one thing that I did not expect them to do was he basically says, your father was a great man, and one of the greatest TNT champions in history. No offense, he tells Cody, and he says, so because of that, we want to award you TNT champion for life. So in the record books, for as long as the record books exist, Brody Lee Jr. will be TNT champion, and he's also under contract to where when he turns 18, he'll legally be an employee of AEW Wrestling, which is amazing. And the amount of stuff that AEW has done for the Huber family has been nothing, short of amazing, and I wish a lot of companies could do that for their guys. But I know it's a tricky thing to do, but because of the fact that there was so much positivity that came out of the death of John Huber, from everybody that he's met, everybody that he's worked with, the people in AEW who only knew him for the brief period of time had nothing negative to say about him, and I think Kingston gave the best message, basically telling his kids, he's like, your dad's not gone. As long as you live, as long as you remember everything he taught you, he will still be here with you. And I thought that was one of the best messages that was sent out. A lot of stuff came out of that. And to this day, I watch anything from that show or anything with John Huber in it, and I get emotional. And I'm trying to hold it back right now, but yeah, man, that and a lot of people have been kind of cruel about it too, because they're like, oh, it's John Huber. He was shit in WWE and he was shit in AEW, and I'm like, that's not true. He was great in WWE. He was one of those guys. Moxley or Dean Ambrose was the guy that I had picked out from the Shield. That right there is awesome. That's awesome. And he was the guy that I liked from the two, from him and Rowan. No offense to Rowan, but I mean, Lee just had this thing about him, man. The guy can wrestle. The guy was great. I just wish they would have been able to capitalize on that. But yeah, man, it was a great show.
I will also say when it comes to the two factions that you mentioned, Moxley and Brody, of course, one thing I always thought to myself back in the day was there was the Shield. At one point, they were pretty popular, but it always felt like the Shield was more for the jocks, the guys you would see with the tap out shirts, stuff like that. But when I saw the Wyatt family and, with Harper being involved, it almost kind of reminded me like they were the kind of guys that would be more meant for guys like myself, the rock and rollers, guys that didn't have that big muscular look, but yet could get into a group that could be hard hitting, that almost had that look of a new age rock and roll band or a heavy metal band. And that's why I kind of gravitated to
I agree with you. Oh, go ahead, Coach.
That's why I kind of gravitated more, to the Wyatt family more than I did the Shield, because the Wyatts were kind of more my guys or the kind of guys I would hang out with, that I could probably, CD or vinyl trade with than I would the Shield. I mean, they were just, I don't know. I just kind of always felt the Wyatt family was more the faction I gravitated to more than I did the Shield. But then again, I like the Shield. I like Moxley. I like Rollins, but to me, the Wyatts were more my guys.
You like the Wyatt family because Bray Wyatt made it look cool to wear those tribal shirts from Walmart that you and I used to buy. So that's what it is. But moving on.
Yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts, Jaime, on the whole Brody Lee tribute?
I mean, I thought it was a great show. Like everyone kept on saying, that it was very emotional. I thought Jericho was gonna get in trouble for saying Eric Rowan on live TV because that is a WWE property right there. However, I did start watching some other videos of him. I want to say that same day that they're gonna air the tribute show, I started watching Ambrose versus Luke Harper from Extreme Rules in 2015. I thought that was a great match, despite the fact that it ran over an hour because they both hopped into a car, left the Allstate Arena, came back. Ambrose jumped the New Day, and then the match ended in the ring. I thought it was a perfect storytelling match between the two. Brody Lee's wife basically said it in a post that he wasn't mad at WWE for not letting him do his thing. Yes, like anything else, there's going to be some difference in opinions everywhere. So he didn't leave because he hated the company. No, it's just the fact that they just saw something different in the name Luke Harper, and that's why Brody Lee ended up leaving. A lot of people were bashing WWE and going, hey, where's your tribute show? He was a WWE superstar, and the reason why WWE didn't do anything was because he was AEW's property at the end, and they said, we'll let them do the tribute show. We'll let them, do all these things. If you watch back in the tribute video at the end of the show, they had pictures of Brody Lee in WWE. They had pictures.
It was sorry to cut you off, man. But like the pictures of him with Big E, pictures with Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch with Bray Wyatt. But those were all candid photos. They weren't him in WWE character. It was him as John Huber with with the wrestlers, with Rotunda and with I don't know everybody else's real name. I do, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, again, WWE could have put a stop to it, but they said, no, like we'll let them use those kind of pictures because some of those people are WWE property.
But dude, like you can't think that WWE would be that much of a. I mean, they are, but they couldn't be that heartless to say, hey, because those pictures, for all they know, those are pictures that John had on his phone.
Yeah.
There's all the pictures that John Huber had on his phone that his wife gave to them. And if it's his property, it's their right to use whatever it is they want. As long as they're not using him with the characters, with the WWE logo around, they're fine. As far as Jericho saying Rowan like 10,000 times, WWE can't really do it because in the context of how he said it, it was shock. He even said he used to be partners back when they were formerly known as the Bludgeon Brothers. Like he didn't say it in a way to promote him as that.
Yeah.
Like he was. If you listen to it, it sounded very genuine, like a genuine shock. I'm pretty sure certain people knew he was there, much like the whole Sting situation. But WWE like can't be that heartless and be like, nope. They said Rowan, we're gonna charge him. Like, it really only works against them or works in their favor if Rowan was still under contract, or if they were still using the Rowan name in a storyline. But because he was let go, even though it's intellectual property, like they really can't say anything because they use the name. Like you. I just don't think it would not look good on their part, considering everything that's happened in 2020 for them, the amount of firings that they did, the amount of cutbacks that they did when they didn't have to do them, they just did them anyways.
And plus, certain trademarks do expire after a while, so who knows?
Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I would say even Simon Gotch, why was he able to use that name in MLW? That trademark long expired.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like you said, I thought it was a great show. And I really enjoyed it. I even watched the Forsaken, BT tribute show that they did this past week, where they were talking about the Brody tribute, and they showed a backstage video of Eddie Kingston being locker room leader, and he was addressing everybody, referees, backstage producers, talent, everyone, and basically he just pretty much said, hey, you know what? Hug your loved ones because you never know when they're going to be gone. Especially now with this pandemic, you never know what's going to happen. So I just want to go ahead and say that if you guys have any beef with me, take it up to the big man. You with the frosty hair, that paper towel incident. I'm gonna get you back one of these days. Yeah, and I see that finger too. That finger is also gonna go where that sun don't shine anywhere. Just kidding. No, but in all honesty, though, I mean, it makes you think about a lot of stuff. When stuff like that happens, and a lot of people were spreading the rumor of that it was COVID related. It wasn't because
it wasn't a lot of people. It was one asshole who worked for Pro Wrestling Torch.
Yeah.
Right. That dude had no right. He had no right to ask for the inside information as to what was wrong with Brody, because this is where it matters. The fact is that his wife told the higher ups at AEW, right? We all know who they are. And then they had a meeting with the staff and the wrestlers, and they said, "Look, we're going to be straight out. This is what's wrong with John. He's not doing well. There's possibilities that it could be terminal. Don't let this leak out. We're telling you because you guys need to know, and you guys have to keep it under wraps." Everybody knew. Not one person in AEW sold out to the dirt sheets to give them dirt about John Huber.
Yep.
And because of the fact that out of fucking nowhere, forgive me for cussing, out of nowhere, he's gone. He's no longer with us. He's just gone. And the only thing that we found out was that it was due to a lung disease, not COVID related, as stated by his wife. You know, and this asshole from PW Torch decides to try to sully the name because there has to be something wrong when a wrestler dies because of Benoit. There has to be an angle. There has to be a catch to the wrestler because he died. You know, like they even did it to Eddie. They did it to Eddie. They had to say, oh well, you know, he did have a chronic drug use back in his past. Yeah, and he fought that shit, and he came back, and he became world champion.
Yeah,
you know, but I'm sorry. It's just that got to me. That pissed me off because you can't come out with something after hundreds and thousands of people just praising Brody and John Huber for everything that he was. You know, they say he was a great family man on top of being a professional wrestler. And I can barely be a good father by myself.
You're a good dad. Don't worry.
No. I get it. But like, from my perspective, it's always a question of: am I doing enough? Am I doing right? Am I strong enough? Am I going to be able to get through this? He had to do that, along with doing his job very well. By the way, for somebody to be that successful in wrestling and that successful in life, that takes a lot. And very few people can actually do that. And I'm not anywhere near that level of greatness. But damn it, I'm trying. But that's beside the point. Moving on.
Well, if it makes you feel better, there's two good dads that are on this forum that I'm glad to share the Armbar podcast with. So shout outs to both you guys.
Oh, really? All right. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it was a great show. You know, hats to everybody who pulled it off. You know, and everyone who was complaining about WWE not doing anything. WWE has a little section for the Luke Harper fanatics of all his best matches and whatnot in his time in WWE. So I mean,
and there's a couple of YouTube tribute videos as well.
Yeah,
some of the wrestlers.
There's a 12-minute one that at the end, it's got Tamina, and hers.
Don't spoil it for me because I have not seen it.
I'm not gonna say. I'm just gonna say hers was the most emotional.
Yeah.
And then what they play at the end just really tugs at your heartstrings. So if you look for it, I think it's about 12 minutes.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. And
or
you
if
need
I
to watch
find
it.
It should be on my playlist. I'll forward you the copy.
All right.
Well, we went from it's been a while since we've gotten together for Armbar. We went from covering a great wrestling show to talking about a great human being that unfortunately is no longer with us, and a whole lot in between. Mike, any final comments? If you want to go ahead and wrap things up.
Well, I mean, just going back to the whole Brody Lee incident, you know, obviously I was super shocked, you know, by what happened, and I think we all are still kind of, you know, wondering on like why and what happened. But again, all we can do is just celebrate the man for what he was, you know, great family man. You know, it upset me because he was barely scratching the surface. You know what I mean? Like what Ivan said, like he was just barely getting into his own in AEW, and it's upsetting because I'm like, man, I mean, you know that eventually he was going to be a world champion. It was just you knew it was going to happen. It was upsetting that you know WWE couldn't find anything to do with him, obviously, but I don't think he had such a horrible run that people thought. That he had either. You know, I think he had a great run, and a lot of people can attest to that. That he did a lot in that company, a lot more than other people can say for themselves, right? And you know, to be in such a tough business that wrestling is, you know what I mean. To be any type of champion, whether it be a tag team champion or an intercontinental champion, it takes a lot. So, definitely, upset about, him being gone, obviously still, but I mean, let's hope that, we can all learn from this, and hopefully AEW again continues to help support his family as Brody Lee Jr. grows up. I'm definitely interested to see the type of beast that he's going to turn into when he's an adult. He's going to be a 6'8" monster, 300+ pounder guy probably, and we don't even know. So hopefully 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, we'll be able to see his kid in the squared circle if they choose to do so. Obviously, you know what I mean. Some will, some won't, obviously, but obviously it's a brand new year, 2021. And hopefully we have a great year of wrestling. Hopefully we can see some sort of return to normal, some, I guess, or normalization of fans being in the crowd. AEW still somewhat doing that with their regular Dynamite shows, where they'll have the fans way out there, in the crowd, and you can at least hear some sort of reaction or pop. WWE with their fake fan pops and their fake fan boos or whatever, which it's made it a little bit better than from when it was at the beginning of the pandemic also, and having
too quiet.
Having the Thunderdome does help. I think I saw Hyman in the crowd one time on the Thunderdome, and Kenny Omega also. I think I saw him in the crowd also. So I mean, let's hope that the 2021 continues to do great things. We've already seen several match of the year candidates already, not just in New Japan, right, but in other promotions like AEW and maybe even WWE. I don't know.
WWE great once in 2020.
That last women's standing match, I had to say, I really enjoyed that one in NXT. So
yes.
So I mean, let's hope to a better year of wrestling in 2021. Let's hope for good health and everything else.
I do want to. Sorry, guys. I do want to go ahead and interrupt and also advertise a couple of things.
Hold on, I'm gonna mute him. Hold on, wait.
Yeah, just do that.
All right, cool, awesome. We're gonna have a good show now.
Just kidding. All right,
it's the best time that's sounded all night.
Jerk. No, well, I actually do have to go ahead and advertise a couple of things. Right. Well, the first thing that I have to go ahead and advertise, go ahead if I can look for it.
Wait, what are we advertising? So I can screen share this really quick.
Well, let's see. Hang on. Let me try to look for it. I know that
somebody would have been prepared for this.
Oh wow!
No, well, I mean, we were talking about Brody Lee, and I mean, I got sidetracked with what I had to do.
While you do that, I'll give my 2 cents on this whole situation.
Okay.
So basically, as Mike said, we're in a new year, 2021. 2020 sucked ass in so many ways. Especially for me on a personal level, and one of the most consistent things that I have that I've never lost since I got into it back in 1996, like fully committed wrestling fan, 1995 actually, is I've had wrestling, and I've always had wrestling, and I don't look forward to Mondays and Fridays as much, but Wednesday nights and now Tuesday nights, also. But Wednesday nights have become a staple, and I've even when I didn't have cable, I found ways to watch AEW Dynamite, whether it was at the gym on a treadmill for 2 hours, or whether it was at home. I mean, at work, or if I had to get some weird, TV app that a friend of mine gave me so that I could watch it. But yeah. 2021 is going to have a lot of stuff, and I do agree there's a lot of match of the year contenders. As Mike said, one of them for sure on AEW this past Wednesday was Rey Fenix versus Kenny Omega for the AEW Championship. One thing that we didn't get the top covered because I kind of interrupted Jay earlier, but yes, the ending of that match did have a big surprise where we had the Good Brothers show up. Gallows and Anderson, basically cleaning house with a lot of the guys that were outside watching. They came in to try and stop them, and then the Bucks came out, which I was waiting for, but it did not end the way I expected it. I honestly thought the Bucks were gonna go clashing with the Good Brothers, but no, we ended it with I believe it was Matt doing the super kick. Nick didn't do it because he got hurt earlier in the 8-man tag match. And then you had, I believe it was Gallows. He took out. It was Garrison and Pillman that were on the apron, and they took him out. And then they ended it with all of them doing the too sweet. That was allegedly cease and desisted, but you can't cease and desist a hand gesture. But yeah, you can't cease and desist a hand gesture, but the too sweet you can. So as long as I don't say too sweet, they're fine. But we had that, and I mean, in all honesty, with this whole thing going on with Kenny Omega right now, like I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I love FTW, like or FTW. I think that's what they're called. Or Taz's group.
Team Taz. Yeah,
Team Taz.
Team Taz. Okay, fine. Well, FTW would have just been better, but either way, Team Taz just looks. They just look dangerous. Like you have Taz, you've got Brian Cage, you have Hobbs, you have friggin' Starks, and then you have
Hook.
What's his name?
Yeah, Ricky Starks.
Hook. Taz's son.
Hook. There you go. You have Taz's son Hook. But man, they all look like Taz's son is like the young boy of the group. If you want to look at it that way, the young lion, if you will.
Yeah.
But
He's like
I mean.
Marco Stunt.
No, he's got to be way better than Marco Stunt. No offense to Stunt, I like Stunt, but
yeah.
Besides, Stunt has his little feud with Brody Lee Jr. going on.
That's going to be a forever thing.
And then on the Brody Lee Jr. thing, I'm waiting for 10 years down the road. Whoever the hell is TNT champion is going to be in the middle of that ring. All of a sudden, Brody Lee's music hits.
Yeah.
His Titantron comes on. And then you have Brody Lee Jr. walk out with the TNT Championship. Says, "Hey,
real TNT.
No one ever beat me for my TNT Championship." Yeah. Oh, dude, I am waiting for that. That's going to be amazing.
And if you know New Japan and AEW well, they're always good when it comes to creating those slow burn stories.
It
pays off well.
And in all honesty, I'm waiting for this. Like I'm waiting. And I know where this Kenny Omega storyline is going to, and it's going to be beautiful when it happens because I know exactly who is going to lose the title to. It's just not going to happen right now. And the guy he's going to lose it to is Hangman Adam Page.
Yeah, I think you told me that the other day.
Yeah, that's
spoiler.
And here's who's going to help Hangman, fight against this super elite team.
Dark
Order, baby.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I could end up seeing that happening, and then of course, like you mentioned, the Bullet Club reunion, first time since January 5th of 2016 that you had the Young Bucks, the Good Brothers, and Omega in the same ring at the same time. And notice how I referenced that date, if you remember what I'm talking about there. The night AJ Styles was booted from the Bullet Club. But also, of course, like you said, Team Taz, they're a fantastic group as far as, like you said, legit dangerous guys. And speaking of Team Taz, of course, we got Brian Cage, who's had the FTW title. Will he be taking the TNT title from Darby Allin next Wednesday? Your prediction on that match?
I don't know if he'll take it away. I don't think he will because right now they're doing the whole Darby Allin Sting storyline.
Yeah.
But if I had a guy from Team Taz that I would want to take that title off of Darby, I would say Ricky.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like Ricky Starks is money. So is Hobbs. I mean, just the look of Team Taz alone, like Hobbs looked like a badass, but for some reason, him wearing the orange, the orange fucking singlet. Thank you. He just looks fucking like he reminds me of Taz. He reminds me of the way Taz used to be.
Yeah.
Just a big,
badass,
bulky badass, just ready to whoop your ass. And like I know Starks in comparison is small, but just he pulls off a young Rocky Maivia, The Rock, when he started, dressing, when he was the Nation of Domination is what he reminds me of,
Yeah.
And I've always liked Ricky Starks, and I was so happy to see him there. I think he's going to be great. Like, that's what you got to love about AEW, is that you got all these young guys that are coming up that are basically the future of the business, and they're barely in their mid-20s, maybe younger. You've got Starks, you've got Jungle Boy, you've got Sammy Guevara, you have Brian Pillman Jr., you have fucking Griff Garrison, you've got Hobbs, you've got Starks. I think I already said Starks.
Yeah,
you've got the other two tag teams. I think it's Top Flight and then
the Acclaimed.
The Acclaimed. Who are pulling off the best John Cena impression I've ever seen. And I'll tell you what, those two tag teams have only been on TV for a short period of time. I know exactly what it is that they do. Can somebody, any of you three, please explain to me what the fuck do the Street Profits do in WWE?
Well, they do lose to Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, which we saw on SmackDown.
Because I don't know who they are. I know they were at WrestleMania, and I know one of them's dating or married to Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
Other than that, I have no clue what they do.
Yeah. I mean, I was with you.
They're the Street Profits, man. What are you talking about? They're earning profits on the street.
I mean,
look,
I've never minded the Street Profits, but I remember you told me that night at Survivor Series that they were just not a team you would ever support.
Nope. Like I'm perfectly fine with the Hurt Business and everything that they're doing. You want the Hurt Business to do great? Have them make Keith Lee champion, and the Hurt Business will be elevated beyond.
Yeah, I think that's something that could happen.
And MVP being the manager type guy in the group is great, And then once Bobby Lashley finds out that Mike stole his championship, he's gonna whoop his ass.
The CEO of the Hurt Business, I don't know.
Good luck getting out of the Hurt Lock
He'll
without
never find me.
Well, he does live at. No, I'm just kidding.
Jay knows.
I
Mike just has to be on the high ground because Lashley can't reach the high because of his traps. So he gets kind of stuck right there. He can't go high.
There's going to be a lot of interesting scenarios going into WrestleMania this year. One thing, obviously, that will lead up to that is the Royal Rumble, and we've already had several announced people that have been very outspoken about that. One being Daniel Bryan, right? Randy Orton also, I believe, mentioned that as well, that he will be entering the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Keith Lee, obviously, he was one of last year's standouts. I think it's a possibility, like Adon says, that, if they can push him, if the Hurt Business can push him to possibly win the Rumble match or something like that to some degree, for him to win that championship bout, I would love to see it.
I still want to see Lashley versus Riddle for the U.S. title. That should be good.
Yeah.
Battle of two former MMA competitors.
Bro.
There's another guy I can't stand behind for some reason.
But at least Riddle's for real, though. He's the guy that could really.
I love his skits.
If he had to take care of himself in a real fight, Riddle can really take care of himself.
It's like Vince McMahon was watching Scooby-Doo one day and he says, "That's it. That's money right there. Riddle, make it."
All right, Jaime, go ahead and
get
say
your
what
shit
you
together.
Huh?
So Jaime, I'm going to beat you to something because I'm pretty sure you were going to mention this event that's going to come up. I think it's in March.
Not really. No? I was actually going to go in date formation, sir, before I got to that.
Well,
all right.
You mean chronological order?
I was just going to say, one of the things that we didn't talk about from the Monday Night Raw was that Carlito was supposed to be there. He was my money draw.
Look, sir.
Monday Night Raw.
Hey. First of all,
Carlito show up.
Can you do me a favor?
Yo.
Okay. STFU for a couple seconds. All right.
You want me to do a John Cena finishing move?
Yes. Do it to yourself, please. Please. All right. So I want to go ahead and announce a couple of events, wrestling and non-wrestling events, and also UFC events as well, Jay. So January 17th, from the gruesome where you get awesome beer brewers. It's located off of 1303 North 10th Street in McAllen, Texas. Wrestling Revolution is gonna hold a wrestling event there called Brawl at the Brewery. There's already some matches announced. The first match announced was the Team Chance versus Team Blackheart. Next one, Stud Stash is going to be live in action, and he's going to be taking on New Breed Wrestling School's very own DJ X. There's Johnny Bedlam's also going to be in action. Great Scott as well. There's going to be a tag match between El Naval and Principal Celestial versus JJ LeVay and Tony Strong. Tony Strong. Kiefer Bartek is going to have an open challenge since he's undefeated currently in Wrestling Revolution. Rob Love is going to be taking on Max Heights for the #1 contendership for the Grand Warrior Championship. Sabino Blaze is also going to be in action, and the main event that night will be the Grand Warrior Championship match. The champion Alex Arsenal will be defending against Chris Austin. So that's going to be on January 17th. Tickets, I believe, are still on sale. There's a website. If you go onto the Wrestling Revolution Facebook page, there's a website where you can go ahead and just purchase your tickets, or you can go in person. Just so you know that it's
paying you to promote all of this stuff. By the way, I can't wait to see some of this money. By the way,
so there's that one. Next month, or not next month, sorry, before I jump to that one, on January 23rd, it's going to be UFC 257. The main event for that show will be Poirier versus McGregor 2. Last time we saw those two go at it. Jay, what ended up happening that night?
I believe it was a knockout city that Conor McGregor took Dustin Poirier to the last time.
And Dana White did say that they are going to be able to have a limited amount of fans within the arena. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see, at least a couple people there at a UFC event. So we'll see what happens.
At their UFC Performance Center, or are they actually
no
arena?
They're gonna be basically they're gonna be at the Yas Island.
That's right. Yes.
They're gonna be at the Yas bitch Island.
so they're gonna be in Abu Dhabi for that fight. Next event that I want to go ahead and talk about really quick. Texas Wrestling League presents Revival. They are gonna be at the they're going to be at the Edinburgh Activity Center here in Edinburgh. The address is 123 East Palm Drive, or 123 they just renamed that street right now, or like I think 2 months ago. So they're gonna be having qualifier matches to be able to have to name the new Texas Wrestling League champion. Also, the South Texas Wrestling WrestleFest Championship will be online as well to determine the inaugural champion. Tickets are on pre-sale for $20 at the door. They're going to be $30. VIP $50. Kids are $10. And they're also going to be giving away free books as well. This is going to be February 27th, so next month on a Saturday. And then the last event before Adan tried to rudely interrupt earlier was the RGV Sports Show. And this one's going to be held in Edinburgh as well at the Edinburgh Activity Center, March 6th and 7th. They're going to have former Dallas Cowboys tight end and 3-time Super Bowl champion Jaden Novick. And also they are going to have former Intercontinental and WWE champion Carlito there. Carlito's going to make his presence at the event March 7th. What's up?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Carlito was WWE champion, or you mean Intercontinental and U.S. champion?
Sorry, and Intercontinental and U.S. champion.
And
so
tag team champion.
So yeah, so he's gonna be there. He will be breaking 2020 Leaf Ultimate Wrestling boxes along with the Far Out Breaks live at the event. So make sure you go ahead and buy your tickets for that show as well.
I gotta say that last show that you promoted, that's cool.
So it's gonna be within these next couple months. I mean, yes, we're still under a pandemic, social distancing, 6 feet away, wear your mask everywhere, and also wash your hands before and after you use a can. There's a lot of they're trying to bring back wrestling events slowly, UFC events, sports conventions. So let's go ahead and try to make it one of the best that we can go ahead and attend, because I mean, honestly, myself as a wrestling fan, I'd love to go to these events. So we'll see what happens within these next couple weeks and months.
Let's just hope that Carlito actually shows up to this event, not like Monday Night Raw.
The reason why he didn't show up on Monday Night Raw was because
it wasn't cool.
No. So he had sent out a tweet saying that he would rather be at these types of events making money other than just being at a 2-minute cameo on Monday Night Raw being told stuff by Randy Orton.
Yeah.
So I'm confident that he's going to be there.
He's no dummy.
No. And don't worry, Adon. I'll give him an apple with your name on it so that way he can take a bite out of it and spit it.
Oh yeah, so he can spread germs around the arena. Nice call.
You know what era we're living in, right, Heine?
You're
whatever.
You spent like a good 10 minutes telling people to, wear your mask, social distance, only wash your hands after you did the shit. That's what you said.
No. I said before and after you can, because if you don't do that, that's disgusting.
Again, you're only emphasizing when they go to the restroom. They have to wash their hands.
I mean,
every time
you touch doorknobs, Jaime, and you don't know who else has touched a doorknob.
Besides, you don't know who's done their best Kenny Omega impression on their chick. I got to really figure out how this camera works because I can't, like, this arm, his hand doesn't come out as much, but this is perfect either way.
Damn.
Good. Show us the other hand. It's better.
All right, just to wrap things up, the usual fan question, because hey, before we were podcasters, we were fans first, so it's kind of like our own fan question from within. It's going to be about the man we talked about, Brody Lee, aka Luke Harper. Favorite memory or match involving Luke Harper or Brody Lee, whether in WWE or AEW, or even before then when he was on the independent scene.
Easy.
Are you gonna say it or not?
Yeah. Brody Lee versus Necro Butcher, Ring of Honor.
Oh, okay. That's
somebody was on YouTube recently, bastard.
Nah.
Well, I got to commend you for doing your work there, but yes, for me, I would say like I mentioned, my favorite Luke Harper memory was Hidalgo, January 2017, when he cleaned house of the Wyatt family. Something that was, you think he'd only save that for TV, but he did it at the live event first, and it was just so cool, especially the way the crowd reacted. I'm sure, Mike, you were there that night when Luke Harper, in a way, saved American Alpha from Orton and Wyatt during Harper's divorce from the Wyatt family. But also, another favorite moment of mine would have to be when he defeated Cody for the TNT Championship in such a shocking manner, because it was just a one-sided battle, but yet nobody expected it. And that's another favorite match of mine involving Harper, or as Brody Lee in this case.
Well, since you specifically asked us to name our favorite moment, Jay.
Well, I said match or memories.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He did say that.
You can Donald Trump your words all you want, but you said it's
oh
one.
My gosh.
So look, he's the one that stole my answer. But yes, my favorite moment was when when he beat Cody in what was it, 2 minutes? Like pretty much just laid him out. Like that was like whoever says that Cody, the Bucks, and Kenny will not like give anybody a chance. It's not that he needed a chance, but it was more of an affirmation that John Huber, Brody Lee, Luke Harper, whatever you want to call him,
Big rig.
What wasn't a big rig exactly? Was exactly what they intended him to be, or was exactly what we all knew he was, and that was that he was a beast. And the biggest, I guess, the biggest gripe he ever had with WWE, and he said it himself on the Talk to Jericho podcast, was that Vince McMahon didn't like the fact that he was not Southern.
I can remember that.
He's like, sir, I'm from Rochester.
Yeah, and he's like, he just didn't think that a guy who looks like me should sound like me. And him and Arn Anderson had this idea that they pitched where he was going to be this menacing big man who could talk. But nobody in creative thought that was a good idea. And what did they do in AEW? They gave us a menacing big man who could talk. And he ran with it. And he did amazing. So, seeing him take the championship from Cody, regardless of the circumstances, the way that he did it was great. And we said it before, me and Mike both commented on this, was that we didn't get to see him at his fullest. We didn't get to see him at his best. The matches that could have come from him, like especially big man matches, like him versus Wardlow, him versus Hager. Oh my God.
Him and Archer.
Yeah. Wardlow and Hager were great, other than the I don't want to say his name because I don't want to get in trouble. But there's a certain
say his name.
Fine. He threw great night punches, right? But okay, look. In my defense, and this isn't a knock to Ray. I fucking love Ray. I think he's awesome.
He's gonna come and he's gonna kick your ass, buddy.
Listen. The guy can play accordion. I'm not gonna fuck with a guy who can play an accordion.
Exactly, he can fuck you up.
he can fuck me out with singing a corrido. He's like, like, no, I don't want to get my ass kicked like that. But no, other than the jacked punches that they threw in that match, I enjoyed Wardlow versus him. But John Huber would have had great matches with those guys, and I think that's something that I wish we could have seen. That I could have said, hey, this was my favorite match, but my favorite Brody Lee moment, or John Huber or Luke Harper, was definitely that one, for sure.
Also, just want to say, of course, Jaime just promoted the RGB Sports Show happening in March. Shout out to Danny Varial. Hope you're having a good night. And Mike, your favorite memory or match involving Luke Harper / Brody Lee?
That is a big, big thing to fill, man, because Brody Lee just had a lot of good moments. But I'm probably just going to share it here on the live cast, and hopefully we don't get like demonetized over here on Facebook, right? Or I hope the video doesn't get taken down. But I'm going to play some bits and pieces of the backstage stuff that he would do with the BT and the Dark Order over here. So hopefully you guys can hear it. Let's see. Let me pump up my volume just a little bit, and let's go ahead and just play a little bit of what we, only just a glimpse of what we would have seen from Mr. Brody Lee, aka the Exalted One.
There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm more of a belly button man myself. Hey! What the fuck are we talking about?
Oh my God!
No, that's not Brody.
This new episode.
What the fuck? This is bullshit. Who got papers for me? Who got papers? What are you talking about, you little bitch? Fuck! You put him down. Put him down. I'm not looking up. Put him the fuck down. Put him down. I'm down. Get out of there. Where the fuck did you get that jacket? I do your dry cleaning, so I thought I. Wait.
Hey, what's going on in here?
Oh my God. Thank you. I love you, Sue. I love you, Mom. I love that. I love you. Guys, we got lunch. It's great. Oh, what the fuck is wrong with you? Are you kidding me? Ah! Sue, this motherfucker doesn't like your food.
Here we go. Yeah.
Look at Brody. Look at Brody.
Do it again. Yeah. You better fall the fuck down for Sue. Fall down. Fall down. There you go. He's so hurt. Dad. Bye, Mom. Bye, Mom.
All right. So yeah, that, I mean, again, that was just a glimpse of, you know, what we were waiting for, Mr. Brooks. So yeah.
I will say that seeing those videos always inspired me to whenever Jaime makes fun of the Briscoes, I have a full sheet of papers with me in my hands.
Have them in your back pocket just in case.
Oh yes. But in all seriousness, though, Brody Lee, Luke Harper, John Huber is a man that'll be missed, and just like I said, you know, long live John Huber, and just thank you for the memories, man. Any final comments, Mike? You want to go ahead and just send us home?
Oh, I mean, again, thank you all for sticking with us. If y'all have watched all this 2-hour long podcast here, and you know, hearing Adon's criticism of Jaime over here, but I mean,
It's
really,
done with love.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
You know what else is done with love? Cookies, and you haven't made me those.
Look, Juan. Let's
Juan, what the?
Let's just call this.
Did you just call me Juan? What the?
Yeah.
You look short from this angle.
Juan.
Whoa!
It's a better name.
Whoa,
than
buddy!
Jaime.
Whoa!
Than Jaime, right? Look, it's a better name than Jaime. But look, let's just call. Let's just admit that, hey, I'm a trendsetter, much like Matt Taven. Because look, before Brody Lee ever threw papers, I threw paper towels.
Yeah.
So I'm basically the exalted one of Armbar.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, that's it. All right, I need to go out and get myself a trench coat. I need to grow a beard, and then let's see throw papers at Juan through the screen somehow.
How many nights?
Jaime, whatever his name is, that guy, the one that took himself off the screen over there.
How many nice suits do you have?
Huh?
How many nice suits do you have?
0.
None. I'm poor.
Everyone has a nickname, but Danny just said that.
Yeah.
No.
We call him 7-star Jaime.
No. Jay calls him 5. Jay, whatever.
What the?
Jaime. I call him a Melvin. I call him Jamie, and now I call him Juan.
Oh, I misspelled.
Because his actual name is terrible. Twitter?
That's your name, Twitter?
Twitter?
Juan Cena, really?
There you go.
Cena.
Juan Cena.
Cena.
Disappointing, y'all.
No me pueden ver.
I just hope Jaime doesn't make a video saying that there's a victimization about Jaime, like a certain person we shared a podcast with a couple of years ago when we were discussing.
Jaime's gonna come out with a flea market shirt that says "El Invisible de Armbar."
Translation, please.
The invisible of Armbar. Invisible. I don't speak Spanish, man.
Oh man, that was a good one. But all right, well, we do thank our fans for tuning in tonight on Armbar, where we've had the best of everything. And of course, we'll definitely be looking forward to not only RGV Sports Show with Carlito, but also, of course, the next South Texas WrestleFest. And whenever that lineup drops, we'll definitely be ready for it. Until then, this is the Rockstar Jay Ochoa, of course, 7-star Jaime Esteban, the infamous Devil Frost, and Mike the Biz. We're signing off. Have a good night.
Goodbye. Mwah.
Happy New Year.
Good night.
Good night. Bang.
and have a pleasant tomorrow. Good night, everybody.